Still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. This is a Supermac and Gibbo show. Good evening, chaps.
Hi, how are you, Steve?
Very good. Good to see you. Thank the Lord. That's the end of the international break.
Absolutely.
It's been a boring weekend. Lots of household jobs to do and not enough football on the telly. But international week. Interesting one for our players, lads. Johan Wissa, of course, the new number 9 of this parish. Got 2 goals in 2 international outings since becoming a Magpie. So he is finding the back of the net on a regular basis. Anthony Gordon, Dan Burn, Tino Livramento all had run-outs in the 2 England World Cup qualifiers. Great display by Gordon and Tino in that second game. I thought 5-0 win, of course, against Serbia. Bruno Guimaraes, well, he is quickly becoming the star of Brazil, with Ancelotti more or less saying that he's the one player he can do without. So he has done well. Sandro Tonali, of course, a midfielder, general for Italy, as well as Newcastle United, getting the winner in a wonderful high-scoring game against Israel in the final game, which was fantastic. And of course, Anthony Elanga and Emil Kraft both playing for Sweden. Notable comment from the second Sweden game was as Alexander Isak came on the pitch, he was resoundingly booed by Kosovo fans. So I'm not sure whether there was a few Geordies in there, but certainly got a bit of stick. But that's the main ones. And of course, Nick Voltemade, of course, our other striker who we brought in the transfer window. Germany didn't get off to the best start against Slovakia, losing by 2-0. But in the second game against Northern Ireland, they did win 3-1, and Voltemade made his an assist in the game. Had a better game in that one. But that's the main talking points from those friendlies and from those internationals and World Cup qualifiers and from the international beat. I guess the best thing, John, from this is that it's a clean bill of health from the internationals. Everyone's come back fit and well in time for Newcastle.
Yeah, that's very, very important. But what I found equally important was Wissa. He got time on the pitch. He hasn't played at all pre-season or in the Premier League for Brentford, so he was well short of match fitness, and he got over an hour in both games with the Congo and scored in both games. So, that's been vital to us. I mean, to get that mileage into his legs and to get him scoring goals is terrific. And I think that will confirm that he will be the one of the two W's who starts against Wolves, because he's a natural Premier League player. So we know he can do it. He hasn't got to adjust or anything. He did it all last season with Brentford. So I think he is a massive, massive plus over the international break.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that, John, that Wissa will he will be a certainty to start against Wolves. Is the German, though, going to suffer like Tonali and Bruno did? because they sat on the bench for a number of games before they actually got onto the pitch.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Nobody ever knows 100% what Eddie's going to do, but I'm sure that Voldemort will start on the bench. I would put money on that he'll start on the bench, because I think the manager won't play Wissa and Voldemort straight away together, because he's then got to leave out a winger or one of his three midfielders. I think he'll go traditional. He'll go with Joe Linton, who I'm expecting to be fit to be alongside Bruno and Tonali. And then he'll go with two wingers, one side Elanga, one side Bonds, with Wissa at centre forward. And then Wissa will almost certainly, I would think, Malcolm, not last the 90 minutes. He didn't in the two Congo games, and they're the only games he's played. So when he comes off at about 70, any time after 70 minutes, I'm certain the big German will probably go on then.
Yeah. I get the feeling that that's the way that Eddie Howe is looking at it. I think you're reading him very, very well, John.
I'm just wondering whether Voldemort has got back early and has had more involvement on the training pitch might count for him rather than against him, though, John, because Wissa didn't get back till today. This will have been the first time he'll have trained with his teammates, and we know that Wissa's tried and tested in the Premier League and is on a good score and run, and of course has the number 9 shirt. But I'm just wondering whether that just gives him a slight advantage.
I don't think so. I mean, just my opinion, but I don't think so. Wissa is tried and trusted in the Premier League, and Eddie loves that. He got 19 goals, none of them penalties last season, for goodness sake. Are you going to put him centre forward, or a German who's never played in the Premier League because he's had one more day's training? I think.
And who isn't a centre forward, John?
Yes, he's a genuine centre forward, which the German isn't.
No. I'm saying Walter Made. He is not an out centre forward like Wissa is.
Absolutely not. No, he's more.
He wants to drop off and sort of get involved more with the midfield players as an advanced midfielder rather than an out forward.
He's not a target man centre forward at all.
No, he's
Malcolm.
not.
And I think Wissa's proved, the good thing is Wissa has not played any pre-season games or any of the 3 Brentford games in the Premier League. He goes away with the Congo and he plays for 70 minutes twice and scores twice. And they're not just any old games. I mean, the second game he played against Senegal, I think. There was 80,000 there.
Yeah.
And he scored and he played for over an hour.
Fair outside.
So I think he's ready. And he is a centre forward. And by Jove, haven't we shown in the 3 games we've had this season that we need a centre forward?
Oh, crikey. Haven't we just... There's been literally nothing happening in the opposing box, all for the lack of a centre forward. When you think that in the game against Leeds, Newcastle had 2 shots on target, only 2, and they had so much of the ball, and both came from Jacob Murphy. Yeah, nobody else got a shot on target, and if you don't shoot and get it on target, you're not going to win games.
No, exactly. What I'm looking forward to, Malcolm, and first things first, we've got to get 3 points against Wolves. There's no ifs, there's no buts. We haven't won in 3 games. It's almost set up for it. Wolves have played 3, lost 3. They're fighting a relegation battle, and they're only into the 4th game of the season. And they will fight a relegation battle, in my humble opinion, all season. So first things first, we've got to beat them. But I'm really looking forward to seeing against Barcelona, Wissa playing centre forward and Gordon playing outside left, because he can't play against Barcelona for all he's suspended in the Premier League. And I thought Gordon was quite a breath of fresh air for England when he was in that first half. I know the lad on the other wing got all the headlines, and I can understand why. But Gordon looked back to the Gordon we know, and I'm looking forward to him playing with Wisse against Barcelona, and then eventually in the Premier League after Bournemouth, of course. But first things first, 2 points out of 9 has got to have 3 onto it out of 12, hasn't it? We've got to beat Wolves. That's essential.
Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, John. And when you think that we're very much an attacking side, and we've hardly scored any goals.
Yes, we're just the one game we've scored in, haven't we? When we played Wolves,
and
when we
guess
played
who that
Liverpool.
was against, for heaven's sake.
Played Liverpool. Yep.
Is there a chance you could go with an unchanged team? We drew 0-0 with Leeds. Is there a chance he gives Osula a second chance and keeps Wissa and Bolivari on the bench?
Not in a month of Sundays. No. I would rather go into the pitch and cut me throat in the centre circle than do that. I mean, we've lost about Chris Wood. We do not. Chris, he's an upgrade on. That's what I'm saying. He's an upgrade on Osula, bless him. And I'm not trying to get nasty about Osula. I know how many fans he's got amongst our fans, and I can understand it. He's quick and he's enthusiastic. But bless him, that's about the size of it. He's not Premier League class yet, and we'll see if he ever is.
Sure,
but no, you've got Wisse, and you would play Osula, please. I mean,
I'm just saying whether I'm playing devil's advocate.
You're playing devil's advocate, I know. But what I'm going to say now is that if any message gets to Eddie at all about what we're saying on here, I want to say to Eddie, if you're going to do that, if you're going to start with Osula before Wisse, would you privately tell me so that I needn't bother to go to St James's Park? Because I won't bother going if we're not going to have Wisse leading the forward line. There's not a chance whatsoever. And there's not a chance whatsoever about it being an unchanged team. We've got to look at because Joe Linton will play. If Joe Linton's fit, Joe Linton will play as a third midfielder alongside Bruno and Tonali. He didn't play at Leeds because he wasn't fit. So Joe Linton will come back. That's a certainty. Wisse will start instead of Osula. That's a certainty. And then the only position I think, thinking of changes from the Leeds game, the only position then that's up for consideration is whether you play Murphy or Langer at outside right. Murphy played at Leeds. So it would be a matter a choice.
And had the only 2 shots of the game.
But I mean, that's the one position left to be in my humble opinion.
Sure. Just on the point of Osula, he's got all the attributes to make a really top goal scorer. He just doesn't know how to use all those attributes. He doesn't know how to use his sprinting ability. He doesn't know how to use his body effectively against opposition, and his running in the box is it's scatterbrain.
Yes, at best it is. Yes,
it's scatterbrain, and there's no cohesion in him to do what is necessary at this level of football. It needs somebody to show him.
Yeah, well, you could pop along and have a word with him.
I'd be more than happy to go along, and
I know
because I'm just thinking through the list of coaches that there are there. Is there any out and out forward? John, I can't think of one.
Sorry, what, Malcolm?
An out and out forward.
Graham Jones was the centre forward. Graham Jones, when he played for Wigan and everything, was he a centre forward? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Be careful.
When he played for Wigan.
Well,
You
yes,
know,
yes.
this is, we're talking about Newcastle and playing against the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal and so
Barcelona
on and
next
so
week.
forth. Barcelona next week. Yeah.
But I tell you what, Malcolm, if just taking what Steve said there when he was playing devil's advocate about Asula and an unchanged team, if Asula plays centre forward against Wolves, will it be a record when Wissa asks for a transfer before he's actually played a game for us?
The other thing is as well, Eddie is going to have one eye on Barcelona. I know every press conference, without fail, he says, one game at a time, I'm looking at this game. But, when it's the Champions League, when it's the Carabao Cup, when it's the FA Cup, all still on the horizon. Of course, it's early days. We're only 3 games into the season. But, you will have an eye on Barcelona on Thursday. You can't tell me that he's not. And that probably will come into his mind. And I think because we've got a better squad this year than we did the last time we were in the Champions League, I think rotation might play more of a part, John. I think because you're going to have to rotate players, aren't you?
Yes, I think, Steve, you're absolutely right. As the season goes on, rotation will play a very big part. But I honestly don't think it will on Saturday. You know why? We've got 2 points out of 9, for goodness sake. You can't have an eye on Barcelona. You've got to beat Wolves. Can you imagine if you don't beat Wolves? If we draw with Wolves or got beat with Wolves, and we won't, but if we did, can you imagine the atmosphere in the dressing room going to face Barcelona next, and we still haven't won a match this season? First things first. He can't hold anybody in reserve for Barcelona. He's got to make certain he beats Wolves. When he's 3-0 up after 60 minutes against Wolves, he can think about Barcelona and bring a couple off and put a couple of subs on, because we've got good subs. Walter Ramsey, Murphy Orlanga. We've got good subs. You can start putting the subs on, but he's got to get 3-0 up first against Wolves. He must beat Wolves before he can start thinking about Barcelona. Because if we don't beat Wolves, where are we? Where are we going into Barcelona game? We must beat Barcelona. We must beat Wolves first, and he's got to put out his best side to make certain we win. This is our 4th Premier League game of the season, and we haven't won one yet.
Yeah,
we must beat Wolves.
Absolutely, and yes, and there's been a lack of goals. The defence, I think, have done great.
Yeah,
so far I've got no real complaints except for the last 10 minutes against Liverpool.
The last 1 minute against Liverpool. Yes.
Well, the last 1 minute, yeah.
I tell you, Malcolm, you've managed, at the top level, you managed Fulham, and you know what it's like on both sides of the coin as a player and as a manager. So, I made the point this week on the podcast that Newcastle's weak points this year so far are probably carrying on from weak points from last year. Delivery of corners is not very good. Bearing in mind that we've got a lot of big players. This is probably one of the tallest Newcastle teams I've ever known before we signed Voldemort. I don't think we make a good job of that. And I tell you, the other thing that frustrates me as a fan is the reluctance to shoot on the edge of the box. And the only people in our team who seem willing to have a dig it's our 2 left wingers, Anthony Gordon and Barnes, and they do the same each time. They come, they cut in, and they'll have a dig, and it usually goes over. The only other person who is willing to have a go from outside the box is somebody with a 1 in 100 strike rate, and that's Fabian Schär. But we've got some great bloody midfielders. We've got Joe Linton, Bruno Tonali, but they all seem reluctant to have a shot, Mal.
They do. And in actual fact, Gordon, it was a shot from the edge of the box with England during the week that created a goal. Gordon's shot was parried, but it finished up in the net. Great. When you shoot from outside the box, the edge of the box, and what have you, when you're on the attack, things can happen. But But if you don't go slamming the ball into that crowded area, things won't happen. If you keep passing it out wide or backwards, nothing happens. You've got to take that chance. Be safe in the defensive third. Be safe in the midfield third. But that last third is where you can take risks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can risk losing the ball, and because if you're going to really make something happen that can change the game, you do it. You can only do it in risky fashion. There's nothing secure working in and around the opposing penalty area. So you take the chance, and so you miss a few. And I've seen forwards who have they've had a couple of misses and then they disappear from the game because they can't cope with missing. Missing is a part of being a goal scorer. If you're going to score goals, you've got to miss them as well. And so just accept it. And if you're going to score, you're going to miss, you've got to keep shooting at goal. And I should always remember it was actually against Wolves, this, back in the early 70s. And I got myself through and I sort of came along the dead ball line to the goalkeeper's right. And I shot, and Terry Hibbett was just coming across the penalty spot, totally free, nobody marking him, and I've shot, and the keeper's just got a leg to it, and out it's gone, and Terry Hibbett has gone berserk at me, going, I'm right in the middle of goal. For heaven's sake, knock the ball back, pass to me. And I said, Hibby, I've got more chance from that narrow angle of scoring than you have stood on the penalty spot.
Yeah, and by the way, that's absolutely right.
It's an attitude of mind.
Yes.
Hibby didn't have it, great passer, wonderful passer, but he didn't have the attitude of mind that if you're going to score, you've got to miss as well.
Yeah. And if you're in on goal, Malcolm, you're certainly not going to pass to somebody else. If finisher finishes, you didn't catch Jimmy Greaves passing to somebody else when he was in on goal, did you?
No.
The interesting thing you said, though, Steve, about when you were talking about what Newcastle don't do well, and you were talking about corners. What I find interesting about corners is the way we use Dan Burn. We'll put him outside the back post, 2 or 3 yards outside the back post. We'll drive it over the top to him to head it back across goal. Why don't we use him in the way we used him in the Carabao Cup final, when you take a corner and you've got him bigger than everybody else coming onto the ball to finish? Why don't we try to get Burn in to finish with his hand? Instead of knocking it back across goal? We use him where he stands 10 yards outside the back post. He comes in as the ball's kicked and he gets his head to it to put it back in there. Get him in a position like at Wembley where you're going to finish with your head. He should score more goals than he does for the height he is. And he proved at Wembley that he can do that. He proved against Paris Saint-Germain when he come in on the back.
Absolutely did, John.
Where he could finish. He should get more goals, Malcolm.
Yes, he should. One of the problems is, and it's not just a problem that Newcastle suffer from, but a whole host of football clubs, Premiership, Championship, and down below as well. Players these days seem to have the habit of going into the box and standing still. so many are just standing still. Well, that makes it very easy to mark them for the defending side. And it's blocking any run that Dan Burn wants to make.
Yeah. And by the way, Malcolm,
taken up by players who are static.
And you know, Malcolm,
you've got to be on the
run,
clear a bit of space. By all means, let the players go there. But as the corner is about to be taken, they move. They've got to move and do it at a sprint pace as well. And so all of a sudden, you're clearing an avenue for Dan to come in from outside the far post. And nobody's going to beat him in the air, for heaven's sake. And for me, it's all too static on corner kicks, on free kicks, and it needs a bit of space to be given to the man who is the real danger.
There's a point there from Mark Bites. He says, Mal, does it not frustrate the life out of you when they do shoot from distance and they blaze it over the bar? I was always taught to get your head over the ball to keep it down, yet these people lean back.
No, as long as when they hit it over the bar, that they think about it, and maybe not while the game's in progress, but certainly after the game, think about why it went over the bar. And you see, and there's a very simple answer as to why it goes over the bar. If you watch the head of players taking the shot, they want to see themselves score. And so, as they're shooting, they lift their head because they want to see. By rights, if you're going to score from distance, you won't see yourself score because you're still looking down there. You're still looking down at where the ball is. And you've got to keep your eye on the ball as you go through the motion of taking a strike. And the ball should hit the net before you can even get your chin up off your chest. And too many people want to see themselves score, and that's why they don't score.
Let them watch it on Match of the Day at night if they want to see themselves score after they've done it in the afternoon, Malcolm.
Well, that's right. That's the time to what? Yeah, that's the time to see themselves score. Oh my word! And the reason why you blaze it, when your head goes up, then your body tilts back automatically, and so you sky the ball. Keep your head down, and then it ensures that you're right, that your foot is going right the way through the ball, and it will stay low.
Simple as that.
If you don't do that, Malcolm, if you don't do that, take up rugby and be Johnny Wilkinson, where you've got to get it over the bar.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, halfway through the show. Thanks for your questions. We'll be back after the ad break. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. And just a reminder, we've got 3 issues of the Fanzine subscription left. We are only going to print 100 this year, and all proceeds go to Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. So 97 have sold. We just need 3 more to get to the magic 100 mark. So nufcmatters.co.uk is where you need to go to help us achieve that aim. Okay, Denise had a question really early on. She said, what did John and Malcolm think about our new chief executive and his latest communications so soon to his appointment? I feel it's very positive. Yeah, he sent an email out today to all Newcastle United supporters. David Hopkinson, and it was it was just a nice way of touching base. He said he's planning on going out into the community, but obviously having discussions with a lot of supporters, and it was just very positive. And I think the publicity around his appointment has been very good, John. And I think he's got a lot to do, but yeah, I think he got off to a good start as far as the PR side of things is concerned.
Yeah. Absolutely. I thought it was a first-class thing to do. It didn't tell us anything new. It was, I guess, straight bat and pad stuff, but it's what we needed. What have we not had recently? We haven't had good communication. Mm-hmm. No one speaks to the fans. Since
Amanda
Stavely left, yes, yeah. Nobody speaks to the fans. All of a sudden, we get a new guy coming in. What's the first thing he does? He addresses the fans. Yes, he didn't come out with anything sensational in the memo, the email to the fans. He didn't have to. He had to touch base, tell people that he was here for them, tell people he was here for our club and what he wants to do. He opened lines of communication. That is a big plus. I was delighted to see that. We haven't had that since Amanda went. There seems to have been the Saudi owners, and they're the big owners. There's been Jamie Rubin, who's always done well for us, and he hasn't sort of filled the Amanda situation where he is very much a front man. He is a good man to have and a chief support, but he's not up there doing her job of tub thumping and talking to the punters. All of a sudden, we've got somebody into an executive position who's going to reach out to the fans, and that's important. The first thing we've seen there is encouraging. Let us get a director of football in now, and let's get in quick. The window might have shut, but don't think the club's on sort of working on January now, because you don't work on January at the end of December. You work on January now, your transfer window, because that's the way it works. So we need somebody in that position, because those positions have changed too often. We've had Dan Ashworth, we've then had Mitchell, and now we're going to have somebody else. And, we've got to get some stability there, like we've got in the manager, where you've got Eddie, and Eddie's been there from day one of the takeover, and it's worked brilliantly. We've got to get upstairs right. We've got 50% of it sorted now. Let's get the other 50%, because time passes quickly. In this, the second appointment we're waiting for is so crucial, because it's important that he's on the same wavelength as Eddie and that he has a good relationship with Eddie, because this is the one where Eddie talks to him about our targets, how we're going to get them, the sort of what Eddie needs, the type of player he needs, the position he needs, and the type of person that fits into our dressing room. We don't just look at talent on the field. We look at the band of brothers off the field, and that he fits into that and is not aggravating in any way in that. So there's an extra dimension. We need that guy in quick, because as well as we might have done very late on in this transfer window, we need to go into the next transfer window all guns blazing with somebody in there and established in there working with Eddie on the same wavelength, because we're not certain that that's been the case with both of the last two. Was Mitchell and was Dan Ashworth on the same wavelength? Maybe not. But we need somebody that is on the same wavelength, because that partnership is as important as the partnership between Gordon and Wissa, that the winger provider and the centre forward is on the park. This other partnership's as important as that.
Yeah, I would agree. And a couple of questions coming for you, Mal. What was the last goal you scored in your career, Malcolm? Can you remember?
The last I scored in my career? Yes. It was my very last game for Chelsea. For Arsenal. And we were at Chelsea, Stamford Bridge. And it was the last game of the season. It was the Tuesday night, if I recall, after the FA Cup final, where Arsenal had beaten Manchester United in that final, and I had been sort of getting myself fit, and I wasn't quite ready for the Saturday in the final. And Alan Sunderland, who had filled my position, he did absolutely brilliantly, and had been doing so for a number of weeks while I was out. But I played in that very last game of the season, which became my very last game for any club in this country. And it was against Chelsea. And of course, I'm a Fulham lad. And so it was the equivalent to a Newcastle, to a Geordie scoring against Sunderland.
Yeah. Which, if you've got to go out, I guess is a nice way of going out, Malcolm.
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah.
But not at 29, my friend. Not at 29. It's too early to be going out at 29. Isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. There we are.
Another question was from Tonali. Says, who do you see taking over from Harry Kane as a centre forward for England in the future? Great question.
I just have that feeling. If you watch him carefully, he doesn't get involved in the rough and tumble of the game, and so he doesn't really, for a centre forward, he doesn't get injured, and so he's going to go on for quite some time, I think, and so probably the guy who's going to replace him hasn't even sort of really started his career yet. He's probably at the moment about 20 years of age. Harry Kane will go on for another 4 or 5 years. Of that, I'm pretty sure. And so, we're looking for somebody to burst onto the scene over the next 18 months, 24 months, and then they'll be perfect for when he does retire from the England scene. And so I don't know. I really don't know, because I've watched the lad who sort of is the reserve to Harry Kane, the lad at Aston Villa. and I've not been impressed with him at all. I know he's
Watkins.
Yeah. I've not been impressed with him at all, John.
And he's too old to be his successor, really, isn't he? He's 29, 30.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
He's too. I mean,
what you need now is somebody around 22, 23, and who can be there in the England squad and start to get the odd game here and there playing.
I mean, the only one off the top of my head, without having had time to think about it, the only one off the top of my head that's possible, I suppose, is Delap, who's gone to Chelsea.
Yeah, he's injured. He's injured at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, but I meant long term to take over from Harry Kane.
Sure. Yeah. And
Liam Delap.
There aren't many about at all, are there? You know, when you really think about it. I always remember that when I was at Newcastle, I did a little exercise because I was sort of in the squad, out the squad, in the squad, out the squad, you know, and the reason for that was there were 26 English centre forwards playing in the first division at the time. 26, and so the choice that Alf Ramsey had then was absolutely huge. But when you look at what there's been over the last 20 years, when you look at the career that Rooney had, the international career that he had, wonderful, brilliant, but he wasn't really an out-and-out centre forward. But who was? Who was an out-and-out centre forward when Rooney was playing?
The difference is, Malcolm, the difference is, mate, isn't it, from your day and our day, if you talk about it, nearly 80% of the people playing in the Premier League were from the 4 home countries, were from England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. Now there's so many foreigners that how many English strikers are there? You know, there's less.
Absolutely, and also because when I look back at the Newcastle side that I played in, the Arsenal side that I played in, that there were so many Irish in both clubs. Newcastle had a heavy Scottish contingent. There was, I think, one Wales player, Ollie Burton.
Yes.
But yes, you're right. It was comprised of players from just 4 countries. Now, gee whiz, it's players from 100 and odd countries. And so Scottish players don't really get the opportunity that they used to get.
I mean, I know one thing about Harry Kane and Steve, and I would like to say this because he told me this last week. He's so grateful that Wood is a New Zealander because he doesn't feel under any pressure.
I tell you what, Jano's come up with a good suggestion. He says Alexander Isak might replace Harry Kane. He says if a contract doesn't stop him moving to Liverpool, he wouldn't let being Swedish stand in his way.
I tell you what, he'd go to Sweden and demand that his passport is changed, or he'll go on strike.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Gibbo, a question for you from Blue Rhythm Boy. I'm sure Malcolm can answer it as well. He says, how gutted are you, Gibbo, that Elliot Anderson isn't ripping it up here as a local lad? It's such a shame we had to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was absolutely decimated. I've followed Elliot from very early on in his career because of his granddad, Jeff Allen, who's a very good friend of mine and was in the 69 Fez Cup squad. And I've followed Elliot from being a Ben and from going on and playing in the
age what a lovely guy, Jeff Allen.
And playing on the age groups for Scotland because he could through his lineage with through dad. And I've known how good he is, and through Wallsend Boys Club, and that's another on their board of honour, the Wallsend Boys Club, that all the England players. I mean, a little club like that is had Shearer and Beardsley and Fraser Foster and Alan Thompson and all these guys play for England, and another one now in Elliot Anderson. I'm absolutely decimated because this is financial fair play. Who thought up the words fair play to go on that title? What's fair about it? I mean, clubs are being forced to sell their young academy talent because it's 100% profit in the financial stakes, just to stay on the right side of some law that the Premier League's come up with. It's an absolute disgrace. And I sent an email, Steve, to Jeff Allen immediately. He got his first England cap in that first game, saying, "Jeff, delighted for you, pal. Hope you're feeling proud. Delighted for Elliot. What a disgrace we had to sell him." And he sent us an email back saying he'd read the piece in the Chronicle I did, which was hammering financial fair play for making us have to sell him to balance the books. And I just feel gutted, because I tell you what, and there's a lot of people saying, and I understand that, our fans said he wouldn't have played for England if he'd stayed with us, because he wouldn't have got the regular opportunities that Nottingham Forest have given him. And that's fair comment, because with the three midfielders we've got, would he been the one to come in like Lewis Miley at Forest? He's been able to develop quickly.
And, yes.
Malcolm, what I would like to ask you, as an England player yourself, having watched England, I tell you what impressed me, and I'm hoping you will say it impressed you, Malcolm. When he got the ball in both the internationals in this last fortnight, he passed forward.
Yeah.
He didn't pass sideways or backwards. He passed forward. First time.
Absolutely did. And in the manner that he played, he released Rice to really go and play the game that he wanted to play. And so it wasn't just his own performance. He was actually improving the players around him. And yes, all the time he was looking for, first of all, knock it forward. Who can I knock in? And I think he would have been a bit frustrated because Kane doesn't show a lot. And he could do an awful lot more. But
I tell you what, I think
England, Kane, and I'm not knocking him. There are just certain things that he doesn't bother getting around to on a football field.
I think Tuchel has found a number 6 for us. In that game, he reminded me a lot in those games of what Tonali does for us. Tonali plays 6 for us. He sits there. He comes forward. The first thing he thinks about is passing forward, not sideways. If there's a forward pass on, Tonali will do it. This fella played 6 for England in exactly the same way. And I think Tuchel has found a 6, a number 6, because in international football, Malcolm, and I'm asking your opinion here, too often players play it safe. Let's just pass sideways so we didn't lose the ball. We'll just pass sideways. And then you get defences like Serbia that can just put 2 banks of 4 there and the game's sterile. Anderson opened all that up for me.
Well, yes, absolutely, John. And it's been a trait that's been going for decades, that it's safety first all the while. And I used to I used to put an England shirt on, go out on the pitch at Wembley or somewhere else in the world, and 50 yards away, I'd watch Bobby Moore and Roy McFarlane just knocking the ball back and forth between each other. and think, are you ever going to knock it forward to give me an opportunity, to give me a chance? And it came forward so little. It was very frustrating. And it needs a midfield player like this guy that sadly we've lost from our numbers now. And yeah, all the time he was probing. And I tell you, forwards, they just love a midfield player who does that. Yeah. I had Terry Hibbett. Hibby was looking to probe with his passing all the time. And that's what Elliot was doing. And Rice, he loved it. He loved it. He was
released him, didn't it? It released him, Malcolm. It released Rice to go on and do what he can do.
He wasn't having to take on a responsibility that he doesn't really want in an England shirt.
I mean, the one consolation I've got, having lost Elliot Anderson, and it's very personal to me because of Jeff Allen and because I'm a Geordie and this was a Geordie lad. The one consolation I've got is that I think Tonali does that for Newcastle United very well. He comes out from the back and he passes forward whenever it's possible to pass forward. And he is, by the way, he is the real deal as well. He is the real deal.
John, he really is the real deal. And he just seems to read the game, knowing where it's going to be in 3 or 4 passes time, and so when the opposition have the ball, getting past Tonali is so difficult for opposing sides. So very, very difficult, and he's great for defenders. Wonderful.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But let's not forget that in his first game for Newcastle, he hadn't been on the pitch 5 minutes and he scored.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the beauty about the fella, that you're never too sure where he's going to crop up next.
Well, as Steve said at the top of the show, I think it was something like 6-5 against Israel, and he scored the winner.
That's right.
in the 90-something minutes, brilliant.
Yeah, 97th minute or something.
Mind, I don't want it 6-5 against Wolves and him scoring the winner in the 92nd minute. I want this to be a bit clear.
I'd rather 6-5 than 0-0, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, win's a win, lads. A win's a win. I'm sure Nick Pope wouldn't want 5 goals going past him. Before we look at Wolves, let's get one more question in from Mal. Seems to be a lot coming in tonight. Why does Mal have a greater love for the Tyne compared to other clubs that he played for? It really is special, despite him being a Southerner and playing down there. So why the affection with Newcastle rather than some of the other clubs?
I think it's because that life brought me back here to Newcastle. And I was involved with the radio station that kept sitting me in the at St James's Park and commentating on Newcastle. And of course, you really grow a bond when you've got that kind of attachment. And I've not known any commentator who commentates on a club on a regular basis not to fall in love with a club. Very rarely happens. And so, yeah, the bond, it grows because I was there at Newcastle. And thankfully, I came back at the behest of Century Radio and then the Legends program came from there, and of course, the very nature of the program it was like a triangular boxing match between Middlesbrough, Sunderland,
and Newcastle, and we look to knock the hell out of each other. And so when you're in that kind of situation, your love for the club that you're defending and looking to attack with, it just grows. And plus the fact that I've always been so welcomed by Newcastle, and gee whiz, there's hardly a person who works there that I don't know by first name. That's how it's sort of developed over recent decades, and it really is a great feeling to, after all these years, and good heavens above, it's sort of over 50 years that I joined Newcastle in the first place, that I'm still made to feel truly welcome, and that's a great thing. It is
Great question. Great answer that as well. And we all know there was only one legend on the three legends as well. Let's look ahead to Newcastle United's game against Wolves. It is at home, and wowee, it's a 3:00 kickoff at St James's Park on a Saturday. Yes, very rare. Very rare. Team news.
Yeah.
Team news, we'll find out more from Eddie tomorrow or not, as the case may be. But Anthony Gordon is the one player we do know won't be available because he's serving the second of his 3-game domestic ban. He will be available for the Barcelona game in the Champions League, of course, on Thursday night before completely suspension against Bournemouth in the Premier League, and then he'll be back again for selection against Bradford City in the Carabao Cup. As for Wolves, well, Jorgen Strand Larsen withdrew from international duty with an Achilles problem. You will remember that name. It's somebody who Newcastle were trying to buy at the closing part of the transfer window before they brought Voltemada in. His fitness is yet to be determined, although there is a sneaky suspicion he will be okay, possibly on the bench. Nigerian international striker Tolu Arakadare arrived from Belgian side Genk during the transfer window. He was on target in Saturday's 1-0 win over Rwanda. So far this season, though, Wolves are pointless and bottom of the table after a 4-0 home loss to Man City, a 1-0 defeat at Bournemouth, and a 3-0 defeat to Everton at Molineux. The referee, well, it's Chris Kavanagh. And on VAR, it is Timothy Wood. Don't forget, the food bank will be in their usual place behind the Gallagher end if you want to go and drop some money in the bucket. It does get doubled by Jamie Rubin. Okay, John, over to you first, mate. I think we've accentuated how important it is really for Newcastle to get 3 points this weekend, no matter how. But ideally, we want a really comprehensive performance with goals, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see anything but Newcastle United winning. I know I'm tempting fate in saying that, but I think, you know what, I think Wolves might actually force a situation whereby the 3 promoted clubs automatically go straight back down on block. That has been happening over the last 2 seasons. Wolves might change that, because Wolves might go down, and therefore one of the promoted sides would have to stay up. That is a different thing, and that's for the end of the season. But I think they've lost good players. They haven't had a good transfer window. There's a feeling amongst supporters that they've gambled on who they've signed, and they haven't signed a midfielder, etc., etc. We have signed 5. We didn't have a centre forward in our first 3 games. We've got 2 now. I know Voltemada isn't really a centre forward, but 2 that can play in that position. We've certainly got Wissa. We've got, when I look at the bench now, it's a good bench. We used to have academy players plus 2 goalkeepers on the bench, for goodness sake. Those days have gone. We've now got a bench where in the second half, Eddie can make real changes that will make an impact. And I have a good feeling that Newcastle know they've got to win this. The team knows they've got to win this. The team, in my opinion, deserve to win this. They've played well in the 3 games we've had, particularly the first 2, but have had no cutting edge because we didn't have a centre forward because Isaac was on strike and we hadn't signed these guys. That has now changed, and I honestly think we'll win this. And as Steve was saying, we not just want to win it, but we want to win it well. And I'm taking Newcastle 3-0.
3-0. 3-0 from John.
Not the confidence, John. Do you know, I because Gordon is missing the game, I'd play Waldemar in his place. He wouldn't play as a strictly outside left.
As an outside left, no.
No, he would come more inside. But we've got width on the other side, and I'd be inclined to stick him in, and particularly in this because Wolves, they're one of the poorer sides in the table, and so it's not as if it's going to be a real uphill struggle or anything like that. It's not, and I think that Newcastle can really go out and turn the style on, and with the new players, both the new players in that and we know the kind of passing game that Newcastle can stir up. We've seen it against good sides, bad sides, intermediate sides. That Newcastle can really turn the style on. It's now that because the window is shut, we've got new signings in, we've got new blood, we've got new talent, and what the players have got to do is let that talent that we've just signed really go and shine and make an impression on everybody that's there at St James Park. And I think play the 2 new guys, Wieser and Waldemar, and let them go and impress. And we are well and truly organised well enough to back them up, to accommodate them. But not only that, what I would impress on them is we haven't been scoring goals. That's why you're here. Make goals, score goals. That's your main job.
Prediction, Malden?
Prediction, I'll go 2-0.
Okay, I'm going to go for a 3-1. I think 3 wins they're predicted tonight. We are going to be back on Wednesday with Mal and Gibbo next week because Newcastle, of course, are in Champions League action on Thursday. So 6 o'clock next Wednesday. Thanks to everybody for watching. 1,100 of you watching live. Those of you who are watching on Twitter, please jump over onto YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. We still do 7 shows a week. Big thank you to Mal and John. Good night, lads.
Thanks a lot.
Good night. Enjoy the game on Saturday, guys.
Take care.
Yeah.